A Shinn Show. Welcome to A Shinn Show. It's me, Pete Shinn. Alongside me, my daughter Sarah Shinn and son Nick Shinn. How are you, kids?
Good.
Fantastic.
I mean, I say kids, but you're adults, obviously.
Your spawn.
Right. The fruit of my loins, if you will. What's that?
We're youthful in spirit or something.
Yeah, well, you're youthful. I'll say that. No question about it, compared to me. Anyway, welcome. Glad you're here. Including all of those who are listening. And we're brought to you, as always, by Ziff's, a fine dining establishment in Invercargill, New Zealand.
Thank you, Ziff's. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. Ziff's is going to be displayed prominently on this year's hoodie design.
Can it also feature a Zeppelin?
Perhaps. Why? I mean, do you want a Zeppelin?
I do. I don't know. Ziff's to me seems like it should be displayed on a large balloon as it flies over crowds of people.
Interesting.
The notoriety they deserve.
She's got a vision.
I'll say. And how? Well, that's a good concept. I might add it into the design. I have not finished the design elements. By the way, for those who are wondering, I do a design of a hoodie every year. It's a specialized hoodie. Usually has some sort of theme. This year's will, of course, be a Shinn Show themed. Sarah, thanks to you for working out some of the technical details to actually get the slug to reflect a Shinn Show. So really, I think we're going to start calling this Season 2.
Okay.
Post-technical implementation?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're starting to move beyond the experimental phase. We know what we're doing now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
It is.
No,
it's not.
It's not.
Let me rephrase. What we talk about is pretty cut and dry, just talking, but getting it on the fucking air is not so cut and dry.
No, it's
on the air and sounding good. That's a little bit more difficult.
There's still some stuff I got to do to get us fully out there.
Well, yeah.
Have you been putting this on YouTube?
I'm working on it.
You need to work on it.
Yeah, so lots of work yet to be done.
To the top of the list.
And
I'll work on it double now.
All right, good. And, I would say one other thing, which is that, if you really want to step up the game, each of you getting your own microphone, wow, that'd be red hot.
Okay, well, I'll invest in one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I should probably, actually purchase one instead of just liberating it.
Well,
but
yeah, I agree. I really do. I think you need to step up your equipment game. But look,
because this one's no bueno. Is that what you're saying?
No,
the sound quality not optimal.
You sharing a mic is suboptimal. But we've had that discussion. Let's move on. How was your week?
It was good.
All right. Good. Yeah, good week. Fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't do anything. Just worked,
I got a tattoo.
You got a new tattoo? Let's hear about that.
Did.
What'd you get?
It was Mother's birthday on Sunday, and she's been hounding, well, really both of us, but especially me, to get some sort of mother-child tattoo for a while. So, Mother, bless her heart, has, how do I put this? White girl tendencies.
What does that mean? White girl tendencies. What does that mean exactly?
It means, the cliche, like, white girl tattoos. I don't know how better to explain.
The black flying birds, the bouquet of flowers, the infinity symbol, some sort of cross.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
could be Celtic, could be non-Celtic.
Right.
I swear to you, if you Googled white girl tattoos right now, one or all of those things would be the very first images to pop up. I promise.
A mustache on the finger. Yeah.
I mean, that's just
more hipster, but
yeah, that's
anyway. So I told her, I was like, look, we'll do a mother-daughter tattoo. Sure. Let's do some sort of floral thing. I had to kind of talk her down from the ledge, from the cliche thing and convince her that, no, I promise you this is a good idea. So eventually I just kind of strong-armed her into it.
Well, it don't matter what she gets now. She's got a career. They're not going to fire her. You know what I mean? It's not like it's going to be hard for her to find a job and shit if she has a tattoo now.
Well, in today's day and age, they're much more socially acceptable than they were.
I mean, Murph's got tattoos on her fingers.
You're right. Exactly. Well, they work in different school districts, but yes.
I mean, it is still a school district, though. But yeah.
So Mother got we got a traditional style tattoo, which isn't my typical style, but I really actually enjoyed the art once the artist presented.
How long did that take?
A little over an hour.
That must be nice.
Yeah.
I've There's no tattoo I've ever wanted to get that was small, so it's always like a fucking all-day thing.
Oh, and that was the whole thing. Mom was like, I really want it just a small tattoo. I was like, you're not going to get any detail in a small tattoo.
Yeah.
But so it ended up being much larger than she thought it was going to be. But
where's hers?
Hers is on her calf.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because she wanted it on her wrist, but it was too large, she thought. And then she thought about putting it on her shoulder, but she wanted to be able to see it. So they ended up deciding on putting it on her calf. So it's a traditional style tattoo. Hers features a bloomed peony and some small hydrangea blossoms and is in color. And mine is a large number of hydrangea blooms and little peony buds, black and white on my forearm.
I see. Well, very good. Well, congratulations on your latest tattoo. Did it scratch the itch for you?
Yes. It was almost exactly a year since I last got one, so.
Well, good. And by the way, I did look at the white girl tattoo starter pack meme. So I have a much better understanding of what you're talking about. Couldn't agree more. Way to talk your mom out of that. And, oh, by the way, thank you, children, both of you, for never putting pressure on me to get a father-son or father-daughter tattoo.
Well, we didn't. That was not our idea at all. That was her idea.
Yeah.
But you're welcome either way.
Let's take credit. He said thank you to us.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Well, I had an interesting week. I did some travel for work, and I ended up in my old town that I joined the Air Force out of 34 years ago, Portales, New Mexico. So that was a trip.
That's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I took a picture of myself next to the Baptist Children's Home, which is where myself and 4 brothers and sisters were interned briefly in 1981. And naturally, I'm in a trench coat and in a tie, taking pictures outside the Baptist Children's Home. Naturally, the people inside the Baptist Children's Home wanted to know what that was all about. It probably looked like a private eye.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I
That
would
was
too.
strange.
Even knowing who you were, I probably still would have gone out there and asked what you're doing.
Exactly. So, so I was forced into conversation with the current people who are running the operation, if you will.
Hey, used to live here. Nothing weird going on.
Exactly.
Just looking back on.
Yeah. Just,
You know,
Try to
times.
defend your case, and it just makes it sound more suspicious. Just keeps making it sound like you're making shit up.
No, not at all.
Then you got to run.
No,
You
no.
just gotta run.
Luckily, it didn't go down that way. I was like, yeah, I used to live here, 37 years ago, briefly. Oh, do you know this person or that person? Do you remember that? No, I don't. I don't remember any of
No,
that.
I didn't keep up with the crowd, as it were.
No, the old gang. No, I don't recall any of that. Anyway, the highlight of that visit, though, was that there was a young man who had just graduated from Portales High School, which I did not. I dropped out. And he was starting to go to Eastern New Mexico University, which I also started to do, but also dropped out of. And so I told him, hey, young man, you're already farther ahead of me, and I'm a lieutenant colonel now. So, 37 years later.
Got a kickstart.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? Might be good for that young man to have gone through that. But anyway, so that was kind of an interesting tidbit of my week. There's some other stuff that happened this week, but that was kind of a highlight, traipsing back through, memory lane there a little bit. I will say this, just FYI, Eastern New Mexico, yeah, still kind of desolate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It is desert.
High plains.
Yeah. Things kind of stay like that when they get like that.
Well, that's an interesting, that sounds like a rap.
Well, I mean, it certainly could be.
Yo.
In towns, when cities are not good, when they're shitty, or when parts of cities are shitty, then they stay like that.
Well, I hear what you're saying. And that in the broader scheme of things, things that are the way that they are, there's a tendency for things to stay the same, right? I mean, that's like some sort of entropy, whatever.
Yeah, the law of something.
Yeah.
Things in motion stay in motion.
Right, or whatever.
And whatnot.
Law of entropy is a thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
Is that thing?
It's the second law of thermodynamics.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad
we just said.
I'm glad we have a smart person on the show.
Is the second law of thermodynamics what the objects in motion stay in motion, or is it the law of entropy?
The law of entropy
is the second law.
Yes,
well, the thing is this, though.
What's the shit that we said? Do you know?
That's
kinetic.
It's just a bunch of bullshit, basically, what we said. But I will say this, and
no,
this is
that's definitely true. It's a thing. I've heard it. Things in motion tend to stay in motion.
Well, yeah, that's true. Things at rest.
Stay at rest.
That's a physics thing, actually, not a thermodynamics thing.
It's Isaac's second law or something.
But what I'm actually thinking of is an organizational dynamics thing, which is that large organizations, if you want to predict what they're going to do tomorrow, see what they did yesterday and today. That's what they're most likely going to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's true of that. I mean, although when I lived there in 1981, 82, 83, the population was 10,000. How do I know? They had a billboard that said, "Welcome to Portales, home of 10,000 friendly people and 3 or 4 grouches." Now the billboard has been updated to say, "Home of 17,000 friendly people and 3 or 4 old grouches." So
still the same number of grouches, no matter what.
You're right.
And hold elections.
That seems unrealistic to me, unless it's the same 3 or 4 since then.
Well, no.
Either that or, anybody else who starts to get grouchy,
they kick them out of town.
They kick them out of town, or they put them in
the Soylent Green type deal.
Yeah.
There's a set quota of old grouches that can only that many can live in Portales, New Mexico. Apparently, 3 to 4. You're right,
it's
because
some sort of city law.
Right, you would think with the population increasing by 70% that the number of old grouches would also increase by 70%. That's just logical.
No.
Yeah,
that's not how bureaucracy works.
That seems like ratio mathematics, but whatever.
There's not enough scientists and mathematicians in any sort of political engine for math laws to be applied to them.
Well, perhaps not. Anyway, so yeah, 70% growth over 37 years. That's really not that much when you think about it. But anyway, so I went there and that happened. So that's the week in a nutshell. But let's move on, shall we?
Sure.
So week's big news: California's on fire.
Bad. The worst in recorded history. The death toll I just saw on my little update thing that I just pops up on my phone for some weird reason every morning. 74 is the death toll.
Thus far, with still hundreds of people missing.
I've seen some.
Dude, yeah, I saw a video that was just absolutely horrible. Like, there's a guy, he had crawled into a creek. The fire was coming down through his neighborhood and shit. I saw the description. I was like, I'm not watching this. But then later I watched it.
Did you?
Yeah. I was just like, I don't know. Normally I'm not into that kind of shit, but I had to see it.
No way.
But this fire had just completely killed all his friends. And like they were all trying to get out in their cars, like trying to drive away, but it was too much traffic. And then the fire, when it's that big, it's fast. Like it's faster than a car. Definitely faster than you can run. Like, and it just whoosh, took over everything. Burned down the houses. There was nothing. There was just like charred bones left of this dude's friend. And he survived because he just hopped in a creek until it passed over. Like,
smart thinking on his part.
And it was just him walking through the wreckage and shit. It was fucked up.
Yeah, it's dark, dude. Very dark.
Yeah, it's dark. And that's like people don't really realize like that shit's going on. There's a lot of I read this thing on Reddit about how the funds that are delegated to preventing these kinds of fires have been drastically diminished over the last decade or so.
Which seems foolish because the risk for these things has increased.
Yeah, well, and it's like there's a lot of things in place to fight these fires, but there should be more things in place to prevent these fires.
Well, now President Trump says it's a result of poor forest management.
So give them more money for forest management.
Well, it's complex. Where's that money going to come from?
Oh, there's many places it could come from.
Yeah,
we can just take a little tiny little bit. I mean, how much more do we need for the forests of California? First,
I'm not what's the word, economist.
Well, you got to know how much more you need. You got to know what the total budget, like the mandatory spending that we put into the military. Surely there's something we could cut.
We are not cutting.
Well, actually, technically speaking,
I know we're not going to. I'm just saying it's possible, dude. It's possible. There's money to fuel his.
The military man is spluttering.
Technically speaking, military spending is discretionary, not mandatory. Mandatory spending is for things on like Social Security and Medicare. That's mandatory spending. That has to be spent.
I thought it was always the other way around. I thought mandatory spending was one thing. It was the military, and discretionary spending was everything else.
No, from a legal point of view, that's untrue. The only mandatory spending, actually, we have 3 pieces of mandatory spending, right? We've got Social Security, Medicare, and interest payments on the debt. That's mandatory spending. Congress doesn't have a choice in the matter because they've legislated that. And then everything else is discretionary, including the military, including USDA, including, Department of Education, Department of Labor. All of that stuff is discretionary spending. So the amount of spending that Congress actually can say, hey, we're going to spend this, we're going to spend that, it's actually relatively small compared to the mandatory spending budget.
Well, there you go.
Although, now, from a practical matter, many would consider mandatory or would consider defense spending to be a mandatory expenditure. Since that's
I could have sworn I saw that in a textbook in my economics class in college. Like, or maybe it was saying that most of the budget goes to the military. But I remember it was this pie chart. It was mandatory spending and discretionary spending.
Right. Military is discretionary.
Yeah, maybe what's more likely is I'm remembering that wrong.
Yeah, that is more likely. But either way, the point of the matter is that, when we spend $700 billion a year plus on defense, that takes up a lot of money. And not that there isn't other, the fundamental debate in our society is about revenue, right?
Right.
Where are we going to get revenue from? We don't really tend to have that discussion politically. It's no longer feasible to talk about increasing revenue. But, when you're talking about, we like to talk about the federal budget as if it's a household budget, which, of course, it's infinitely more complex. But, I mean, what do you do in your own life if you need more money? You go out and get another job. In the federal government's case, what do they do when they need more money? Well, they either cut spending or they raise taxes. And my taxes are high enough. As you know, my fundamental philosophy on taxation is that everybody else's taxes can go up, but I would like mine to be reduced.
That's how everyone's is.
That's a problem. Anyway, so enough about that. Bottom line is that, there needs to be something done relative to forest fires and wildland firefighting in this country, but no one really seems to know what that is. And so in the meantime, the fire season continues to get worse and worse and worse. And that's a bad deal for those affected by firefighters.
Thanks, global warming.
Right. Thanks, global warming. Appreciate you. Anyway, I don't know if that's responsible or solely responsible, but it's probably a factor.
I don't think it's solely responsible, but I think it is a factor.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, there's a lot of shit fucked up.
Now, that's good.
The way things are being handled on a state-to-state basis.
I think that analysis is pretty cogent. That shit's pretty fucked up. Good. Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you.
Thank you, Warren Zevon.
All right, so firefighters, that's that. And then what else is going on this week? I guess we got a new acting attorney general. Does that happen? That's happened since the last podcast. Matthew Whitaker. Interesting cat. Iowan. So he's got that solid Midwestern something.
Gumption.
Right.
Gumption.
Got that solid Midwestern baldness.
That's a good.
I don't think that's solely Midwestern.
No, you don't think
so?
so?
I use the word gumption a lot in regular conversation.
No,
Try to slip it in when I can.
No, so he's an interesting cat. He's come to his position the old-fashioned way by getting the president's attention by becoming a commentator on Fox News.
Like, okay, in what way?
How do the other attorney generals do it?
Well, the other attorney generals typically have a long and distinguished legal career as federal prosecutors.
But are you telling me this guy has no prosecuting experience?
No, he does. He actually was a prosecutor briefly for a handful of years in southern Iowa, in the federal district of southern Iowa.
So we continue to elect and or have people elected that have no experience relative to the job that they are performing.
Well, awesome. not elected, appointed.
Appointed, yes, elected.
Yeah, elected implies that there's some kind of democratic process to the whole thing. Appointed, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Got it.
That just means, hey, I choose you because I can, because I got the power. Now you got the power, and you get to choose who you want.
And so on. And in fact, the relevance of this is twofold. One, the question is, because he was a recess appointment, does Matthew Whitaker have to be confirmed by the Senate? Some would argue that, hey, as a former federal prosecutor for the Southern District of Iowa, or what exactly that district was called, that he has already been confirmed by the Senate back in 2004. Seems like a
It seems like if it's a new position, you should be reappointed.
Yeah, especially since there's a quantum difference, a order of magnitude difference in the position between.
This seems like something maybe other attorney generals might have some insight on.
Right, or judges, or a Supreme Court even. But anyway, so there's that, and then one wonders, well, how did he get President Trump's attention, even as a Fox News commentator? And the answer is he got the president's attention by vociferously denouncing the Mueller investigation as being too far afield and needing to wrap up.
Hey, what's going on with that? Is that still happening?
Oh, you bet it's still happening. It's on like Donkey Kong. But Mueller's not a glory hound. Let's just say he only makes announcements.
He's doing the tortoise.
When he has something to announce.
Exactly. That's exactly
Holy
right.
Shit, he's actually doing his job.
Weird, huh? Well, anyway, so yeah, there'll be more coming from the Mueller investigation here in the days and weeks ahead. But, I've
been saying Mueller this whole time. Is that wrong?
Yeah, that's incorrect. It's Mueller.
Okay.
This is what happens when you read the news and don't listen to it.
Yeah.
But the better approach is just to call him Bob. He appreciates that.
Oh, does he?
I don't think we're on that level.
Are you on a first name basis with Mr. Mueller?
Well, excuse me, Bob. And, and
First of all.
And he's in the booth with me right now.
Right now, it's now time to introduce my friend, Bob Mueller. Well, he's not saying anything. That's just like you.
Here.
That's just like Bob right there.
Research.
He's listening.
Anyway, so naturally, Matthew Whitaker would like to hold on to his job, so he's been quite a bit more circumspect about what he might or might not do about the Mueller investigation since he's been appointed. But there's been quite an uproar over that over the last few days. So we'll see where that goes, if anywhere. But I will say this. The acting attorney general does have a history of being on the board of directors of a questionable company that marketed such products as a time machine, an enhanced male toilet for extra masculine men so that their penis wouldn't dangle in the water, and a Sasquatch breeding program.
So you're telling me he's a proliferate businessman like the president himself?
He's very successful. Very successful.
Tremendously successful.
Huge. Anyway, so that's Matthew Whitaker. That news happened. And let's see. What else went on in the week of news? Do you guys pay any attention to the news this week?
Not particularly.
No.
I did. Here's some great news.
Yeah.
I bought and installed and started playing Grand Theft Horsey last night.
What?
Yeah.
Damn.
What's Grand Theft Horsey? Are we talking about Red Dead Redemption 2?
That's correct.
We are talking about that.
Is it hard? Is it cool?
It's so hard. Well, I don't know. It's probably not hard for people who play video games on a regular basis, but I suck.
Oh, you mean difficult?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it is also very, as the children say, hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As all the cool kids say.
Well, it sounds like a game I should get so I can ride a horse into a wall and just face the wall and continue to ride into the wall.
No. This isn't like that. This isn't first-person shoot. You just don't do well with first-person shooters.
I don't do well with shooters at all. But yeah, you could totally ride your horse into other horses and then have the people who are riding the horses curse at you.
Oh, I like that.
While you try to figure out how to turn your horse back around while not dismounting and or shooting the guy on the horse, because that's what happened to me.
Wow. Well, if that's happened to you, I'm not sure how effectively I'd be able to play.
Just takes practice. You should play it. You should play the first one too.
It's good.
Really?
I mean,
the first one is really good.
But the second one's not so good. You don't know yet, do you?
I don't know. The second one is revolutionary from what I hear. It's way more RPG-y, and you can you have to eat, and if you eat too much, you'll be overweight, and if you eat too little, you'll starve. And
well, I like that.
Don't stress me out about this.
All that shit.
I do here's what, okay, I played it for about, 2-3 hours last night.
Right.
Here's.
God damn it, I need that fucking game.
Well.
Wow. Okay. But when you need a game, you need a game.
You know what? When I heard about this game, I was like, as soon as this game comes out, I am going to GameStop. I don't care if I'm at work. I don't care. I'm going to get that fucking game.
Well, it's upstairs right now.
Well, I'll let you have your way with it.
Right. As it were.
Yes. So what I like about it thus far is that, there was some exposition at the beginning.
Right.
But then the actual gameplay and the quest generation is very natural feeling. So you'll be talking to a guy and then all of a sudden before you know it, you're on the trail to go track down some people, and the quest has started, but there wasn't a bright fanfare or a overarching, a HUD or whatever.
It's organic.
Yeah, it's very organic feeling.
Yeah, it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Kind of like the lyric of a Bob Dylan song, right? A man in the corner approached me for a match. I could tell right away he was not ordinary. He said, "Are you looking for something easy to catch?" I said, "I got no money." He said, "That ain't necessary." Something like that.
Are we talking about AIDS?
No, we're talking about.
Yeah, is that a euphemism for AIDS?
No, it's just a lyric from the song ISIS. That's all.
Okay.
It's classic.
All right.
There'll be obviously a very small handful of people who will understand that reference. But the point is that it just happens automatically. That all of a sudden, hey, I'm on a quest.
Yeah, the only Bob Dylan related lyric I know is from an Against Me song where they say, I had a dream Bob Dylan was a friend of mine.
Got it. Okay. Well, we'll skip the Bob Dylan references then. But it sounds like a good game and one that you will spend many hours playing.
Yes.
Many horas.
Oh, yes. Thank you for the bilingual interpretation.
Yep.
One other thing before we move on, because it seems like we've transitioned into pop culture. It seems like that's what's happened here.
Oh, I saw Venom.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I saw Venom.
Yeah, and how? And?
Okay.
Because now my understanding, Sarah, you saw it and liked it, correct?
Yeah, I did.
I liked it, but here's the thing: is the dialogue was kind of corny, kind of cornball, kind of campy, especially when he was like campy. When he was eating dinner with his fiance, like just the back and forth. I'm like, come on, Tom Hardy, like you're better actor than this. Like, what is? I mean, I guess he was just acting with the lines that he was given.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed,
and, the writing wasn't that, it was just kind of corny sometimes.
Juvenile.
Yeah, when they tried to joke around and shit, I'm like, come on, you made that funny. You said it this way or that way. I don't know. But the moral of the story is when Venom finally took over and it was like all the Venom shit and he's running around causing havoc, that was Venom. And the final fight.
The final fight was pretty cool.
Excellent. Well, great. Good final fight, shitty dialogue. I mean, that's the criticism all along of that thing. Now, you saw Bohemian Rhapsody. Is that correct, Sarah?
I did.
And your thoughts?
I loved it.
Okay, very good. I've heard nothing but good things from everybody who's seen it, but the critics hated it.
What did the critics say exactly?
The critics said that it follows every single musical biopic trope that you can possibly imagine, and that as a result, it's not really it's too cliche, essentially.
Hey, why you got to fix something that ain't broken? You know what I mean?
That's true.
Tropes exist for a reason.
That's true. Cliches exist for a reason. Good point. So, but yeah, everyone I've heard that has seen it has loved it. And that includes you.
Yeah.
So we will rock you. As it were.
I was definitely glad that they didn't suppress the bisexual aspect of his life, considering how, integral to his life it was.
So they didn't press that, or they did?
They did not suppress it.
Oh, they didn't suppress it. Yeah, well, why would they?
Then it would just...
I could think of a few reasons.
Well, yeah.
It just wouldn't be an accurate or good movie. Like, it wouldn't be a Freddie Mercury movie.
Like that has stopped anyone before.
Well...
I'm trying to think of an example, though. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Well, the Rock Hudson story. They suppressed his life. But anyway, that's actual real life. That's not a movie. Point is, good movie. So Venom, still we're talking about Venom all these many months later. I feel like that's old news at this point.
Yeah. That's been that was like the third or second podcast we did. We were talking about Venom.
That it was coming soon and you couldn't wait to see it. Now you've seen it and it's left a bland taste in your mouth. Hey, speaking of...
all right. And at the end of Venom, they got the classic Easter egg where they show Carnage. And that's going to be played by Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson is going to play Carnage?
Yes.
Fantastic. That'll be good. But all of that said, here's a piece of news that we forgot to mention. Stan Lee died. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. Terrible. I read an article, and supposedly the last few years of his life were very tumultuous. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, tumultuous, exactly. Yeah, he had, there was a lawsuit about elder abuse and so on. But I'll tell you, even into his 90s, he was a guy who knew what he was about.
Exactly. Here's the thing. Yes, it's very sad that he died. He lived a very long and fulfilling life.
I'll say.
Yeah.
No, as
95. God bless.
As a 52-year-old man, it gives me hope that, hey, man, I got a good 40 years left.
Yeah. Another lifetime.
A whole nother lifetime. That's exactly right. What am I going to do with this 40 years? Hopefully a lot better than the last.
Well, you got your feet under you.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Solid foundation, that kind of deal. But anyway, so rest in peace, Stan Lee. Now, what I will tell you in terms of things that I've been watching the Amazon Prime show starring Julia Roberts called Homecoming. And that is an absolutely... Is
this about the PTSD psychiatrist or whatever?
Yes. So
yeah.
The basic premise of the program is that there is a company called Geist that is doing an initiative to help veterans, combat veterans, transition from deployment back to home, and that it's called Homecoming. And that's also the name of the series.
The name of the program.
Indeed.
Geist is doing.
Yes, it's called Homecoming, and it's also the name of the program. So that's how it starts, is that, hey, they're these soldiers, and Julia Roberts is the primary counselor, and she's constantly being hounded by her boss, Colin, from afar, who is obviously driving some sort of nefarious scheme to get a larger government contract and not really caring about the well-being of the soldiers, but interested in the data that he can present that will allow him to get more contracting money. Julia Roberts is a hapless pawn. And then it flashes forward 4 years or some number of years, and Julia Roberts can't even remember working there. She's now working as a waitress. But the Department of Defense is investigating this program. And there's this lone investigator who's the complaint has finally made its way to, and he's got a choice about whether or not to pursue the complaint or just to wrap it up as, nothing we can justify pursuing, and he decides to pursue it. And that's all the farther I've gotten at this point. Julia Roberts now in the future is starting to figure out, hey, I should be able to remember more about this. Why can't I remember more about this? So she's starting to dig into her own past, and it's all going to come out. But I don't know how the last five...
This is on Amazon Prime, you said.
It is on Amazon Prime. Well worth watching. It's an easy watch. None of the episodes are longer than 40 minutes. Some are shorter than 30 minutes. And so it's very fast-paced, very fast-moving. And I'm greatly looking forward to seeing the ending of that series.
Very
Recommended.
Cool.
Recommended. 4.5 of 5 stars halfway through it.
Excellent. I started watching Castlevania.
Really?
Fucking good, dude. Fucking good show, isn't it?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's on my list to watch. And then finally, from a musical standpoint, I've been listening to a new album by the Ting Tings called Black Light. And I really like this album. Man, it's got...
What's the genre?
It's pop, probably. I don't know. It's pop rock, maybe. I don't know what the genre is. The Ting Tings had a song, 3-4 years ago that was played on a commercial, which escapes me. That was pretty popular. But this particular album it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like a female-led version of Arctic Monkeys in some ways.
Okay.
I'm listening.
And on the other hand, it's a little more upbeat than especially some of their more recent efforts.
So old school Arctic Monkeys.
Yes, sort of, but with a more electronica vibe. So kind of a cross between Arctic Monkeys and Metric, if you will.
Ooh, Metric is coming to Kansas City in March, and they're going to be with July Talk, and I am going to be at that show.
Oh, that's awesome. And guess who's coming here in April, here to Washington, D.C.? Muse is coming.
Oh, my God!
Yeah. Tickets go on sale shortly or have already gone on sale, and I'd love to see them, but gosh, I don't know if I could afford it.
Well, when I
bet it's insane to go see them there in DC.
I went to see Muse in Kansas City 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
The tickets were like $150, and they were middling seats at best.
Right. If
you could get like front-ish row seats or like down in the middle, it was the best entertainment, I guess, in terms of light show, in terms of showmanship. Definitely the best entertainment value that you've ever been to in the show.
Wow,
it's the best live show you've ever been to.
Wow, that's saying something. You've been to a lot of shows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not... it was the best entertainment show I've been to. It would have been even better if I was up close and personal.
Right.
But...
Yeah, but it's still saying something. I will say that probably the most entertaining show I've ever been to was David Bowie in 1991. That was a great show. Bet. Very entertaining. What a showman he was. But that being said, I mean, I saw Cage the Elephant here about 3 weeks ago, and that was super entertaining as well. So, I mean, the technology that is available to even mid-tier acts is so much better than what was available to David Bowie in 1991. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Thank you, Moore's Law.
Right. Thanks a lot. Hey, just one thing real quick. This isn't really pop culture, but it is interesting. So I read in Wired about this neurologist who has a neuropsychologist, actually, a neuropsychiatrist who was responsible for developing the technique that allows PET scans to look at individual brains. Anyways, so he's pretty smart, right? Smart guy.
Right.
So he's developed this theory of free energy that basically says active inference is how all living systems basically operate, which is to say that the primary mission and the way our brains function and anything that has a neurological system, the primary way it functions is, and its raison d'etre, if you will, is to minimize surprise through active inference, finding out what its situation is so it can minimize surprise and maximize survival. And while a very basic insight, it has the power and potential to revolutionize artificial intelligence for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and elucidate on those obvious reasons.
Well, the obvious reason is that currently artificial intelligence is involved in just giving masses of data to computers who can process them, but they're very specialized tasks.
So now minimize surprise.
So, yeah. So instead of making computers specialize and, hey, recognize these images, right, which is one basic application of deep learning as it's currently practiced. What the new concept is, active inference is, hey, here are the broad parameters, and explore your space, and as you explore your space, minimize the surprises to you. So the computer itself then learns.
Mm-hmm. Machine learning.
Exactly, just like we learn, and just like every other living thing learns. So,
that is fascinating.
Yes. So, as one experiment, they basically set up a computer, gave it some basic parameters to play Doom, and the computer that used active inference took longer to get good, but when it got good, it was unstoppable. If that makes sense.
Yes.
But the other one that didn't use active inference was just good at a certain plateau base level. Get better?
I don't know. I mean, there's only so much I really read into the article. I forget some of it, but yeah. The bottom line is that you should look at the wiki for the free energy principle.
Free energy principle. Got it.
Check it out. There's also a concept called Markov blankets that is part of it, but it's basically a theory of everything, right? Ultimately, and it's so complicated, yet aspects of it are so simple. I could just explain active inference to you, and that made a lot of sense. But like the concept of Markov blankets is this concept where there's basically energy fields that keep individual systems separate.
Isolated?
Yeah, exactly. So what's the difference between an organelle and a cell? And what's the difference between a molecule and a cell? And what's the difference between a cellular structure and an organ and a collection of organs and a body? Right.
And the answer is electrical fields.
Also known in this concept as Markov blankets.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So anyway, but of course, this how it all interrelates, and it's all more than theories. It's driven by a series of algorithms that he's developed. He's, as I said, he's quite the smart fellow. But he's such a smart fellow that other smart fellows don't always fully understand what he's saying, which is the sign of a pretty smart dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Or an insane person.
Don't understand what you're saying. They think you're full of shit. Sometimes that means you're right.
Right.
Not all the time.
Yeah. Sometimes it means you're insane. Hard to say. We'll find out in the next 25 years.
But if you got math, I mean, the math checks out.
You're right.
But here's the thing about theoretical mathematics is that it's not always.
It's theoretical.
Yeah.
So you can just
girl I went
hypothetically make shit up.
This girl I went to college with and worked with as a tutor did some probability mathematics. I think she was a math major and a computer science minor. She was smart as hell. Scary smart. but there was like a unit they were doing on probability mathematics, and she developed an equation using some theoretical mathematics that would be able to tell if two strangers would like get along, basically. So theoretical mathematics is way over my head.
And highly theoretical.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And highly mathematical.
Right.
Right. It's all those things. Man. Boy, I wish I was that smart. All right, moving on. Sports.
Wait,
what? What did we
I
miss?
just wanted to say, speaking of shit that we've been watching, I've been watching Whose Line Is It Anyway clips.
Oh my God.
Like they just pop up on my YouTube and then I just keep watching them.
And
that show was so fucking funny. So
do you remember watching that at Dad's house?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I used to watch it all the time.
We used to, like, even when we would go to our rooms, we wouldn't watch cartoons, we'd watch Whose Line.
Yeah. Very good.
It's classic. And the thing is that it's evergreen. I mean, you can still watch those shows today and it's still funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Drew Carey.
Thanks, Colin Mockery and Wayne Brady.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to break out. Wayne Brady was the funniest of the bunch.
Yeah, he was. And have you ever seen his guest spot on the Chappelle Show?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my fucking God.
That's a classic. The Wayne Brady guest shot on Chappelle where he's a badass motherfucker.
Where he's just crazy as fuck, smoking crack and shit. No cops.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to watch it.
Oh, you need to check that out. It's hilarious.
It's funny.
Yeah, it is. Well, all right. Anything else?
Yes.
Yes.
In terms of new music, I've been listening to this artist called Greta Van Fleet.
Greta Van Fleet. I've heard of her.
Yes. So, well, I don't know.
Didn't she like throw breadcrumbs in the forest with her brother, and then they got caught by the witch?
No,
that's Hansel and Gretel. Very close.
Okay.
No, Greta Van Fleet is it's a new band, but they're very Led Zeppelin.
Really?
Very early 70s, late 60s rock.
Ooh.
And it sounds like classic rock. It's super cool.
Well, that is interesting. Hey, speaking of classic rock, guess who I ran into the other night?
Who?
Randy Hall, who joined Lynyrd Skynyrd as their guitarist in 1987. Well, you know, past their glory days or whatever. But anyway, he's a very talented guitarist, and now he makes a lot of money traveling to corporate events. He's got a group called World Classic Rockers, which is all former band members of various classic rock acts, and they go and play a bunch of classic rock tunes.
Cool.
Where did you run into him at?
At an airport, of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The classic meeting space.
The classic meet phase?
Meeting space.
Oh, yes, the classic meeting space. Yes, indeed. The airport. It brings together all sorts of people. So, yeah, Greta Van Fleet. The
head guy from Led Zeppelin said, "Hey, you need to listen to them. They're crazy talented." So.
All right. Well, if Jimmy
Robert
Page, Jimmy Page or Robert Plant, which one?
Jimmy Page, I think.
Yeah, the guitarist. Got it.
There you go. Yes.
Endorsed by the guitarist of Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, Greta Van Fleet. Hey, one other, since I was going to move on to sports, but now since you brought it back up, an artist I've been listening to that I really like is a French-Canadian gal, I wish Noah was here to discuss this, named Lisa LeBlanc. And she's a banjo player, but
I dig it.
But she rocks pretty hard, and her music is a combination of English and Canadian French in terms of lyrics. But on one of her albums, her 2016 release, she and her band do a cover of Motorhead's Ace of Spades, which really rocks.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That's a classic.
Yeah, so anyway, she's worth giving a listen to, too.
All right.
Lisa LeBlanc.
It's on my consumption list.
Endorsed. I mean, Jimmy Page hasn't endorsed her, but he probably hasn't heard her.
Right.
If he did, he'd probably say, wow, Led Zeppelin fans should listen to her.
There you have it.
All right, sports?
Sports.
Sports. Well, let's start with the Huskers because we talk about them every week. And
yeah, they did good. Well, they won.
Yeah, I think. Right, that's an important distinction.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
I wouldn't say they did. Well, they won.
Yeah, 9-6 victory over Michigan State in the snow at Memorial Stadium. Hard to beat that.
Did not see coming.
Yeah, I mean, they beat Michigan State. You'd expect that of a good Husker team. This has not been a good Husker team, but do you think the frosty magic is finally turning it around?
Yeah, I think they're starting to gird their loins a little bit, Get the cups in place and fucking say, hey, you know what? We're sick of losing.
Right. They're manning up, as it were. Good for them. Strapping it on, as it were. There's a lot of homoerotic terms in football.
Sports in general, really.
True. It's true. All right, good for the Huskers. And then looking out at the other crowded sports field, I don't know. What else has been going on? I'm not even sure.
I mean, as far as what we give a fuck about, we saw UFC last weekend.
Oh, yeah.
It was balling. I ran into Curtis Blades again. That's 2 times I ran into that dude.
What's his weight?
I don't know. Let's look that up.
What's his weight? Curtis?
He's a heavyweight. He's going to be fighting Francis Ngannou.
Okay.
I don't know when.
So you ran into Curtis Blades again. As I recall, last time it was as he was taking a leak.
Last time I harassed him for a picture while he was in the line for the urinal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I harassed him. I just said, hey, man, I know you're trying to take a piss, but please get a picture. He's like, as long as we keep moving, dude, because I got to take a piss.
Right.
So then he did. That'll be fight night one. That'll be Saturday, November 24th.
Oh, no, November 24th.
Next Saturday.
November 24th, he's fighting Francis Ngannou. Kurt Blades is.
Yeah, Curtis Blades.
Yeah,
Curtis Razor Blades. And this time I saw him and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to harass this guy again. I was just like, hey. I kept walking.
So who else was with you to verify that you actually... All right.
Oh, was there asking?
Yeah, if Bubba saw it, then it had to be true. Has to be.
Well, I think it goes to every UFC thing. So does Anthony Smith.
Yeah, Anthony Smith was there, which was neat.
So, yeah, that's great. How about the fights themselves?
Oh my fucking God, dude. There's the co-main event. The main event was the Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez.
Okay.
Was it Rodriguez? Yeah. And the Korean Zombie, before this fight, dude, they went 5 rounds. All 5 rounds. Minutes. They fought for 25 minutes. And with literally 5 seconds left in the last round, Yair Rodriguez just throws a desperate elbow behind him in the air and clips the Korean Zombie and knocks the Korean Zombie out for the first time ever.
Wow.
I was just about to lean over and be like, yeah, the Korean Zombie. He was one of the original UFC fighters that got me into the UFC. It was Lyoto Machida and the Korean Zombie. And the Korean Zombie got drafted in the army in South Korea. So he had to stop fighting for a while. So he comes back. It's the main event. I was just about to say throughout this whole fight, I was like, yeah, the Korean Zombie didn't get knocked out. And then in 5 seconds left, boom, we got knocked out.
It was so, nobody even was even sure what had happened. They separated and the Korean Zombie was laying on the ground and we're like, what even?
I didn't see what happened, but I saw by the way he was laying on the ground that he was knocked the fuck out.
Yeah. Wow. So 5 seconds less in the 5th round. Was he leading in the fight?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, he would have won. He would have won, for sure.
Oh, my God. That's fucking heartbreaking. Horrible. Absolutely heartbreaking. If you're the Korean Zombie or a Korean Zombie fan, as you so clearly are.
Yeah, but they're cool.
They were like in them afterwards in the hospital because they were in the same hospital room.
They were holding hands side by side in the hospital bed.
Yeah, that's the great thing about UFC. They beat each other's asses and then they hug up afterwards.
Usually.
So, now the co-main event was Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Mike Perry.
Mike Berry?
There was a whole bunch of drama behind that, okay? Because let me just give you the quick version here, is that Donald Cerrone and Mike Perry worked out at the same gym. And then Donald Cerrone was like, he's older than Mike Perry by a lot. He's like a veteran of the UFC.
Is it Mike Perry or Mike Berry?
Perry.
Okay. Got it.
Jesus Christ. And
the great Danny's harassing me.
Yeah, got it.
And so Donald Cerrone's like, hey, I don't want the kid training our gym while I'm training for this fight. And then the owner of the gym was like, sorry, Cowboy, even though you have been here longer, this kid's bringing in most money because he's young and he's coming in. You're the one who came here. So it was kind of bad blood through the whole thing. And then Mike Perry was talking shit. It's like, yeah, Cowboy Cerrone's old. It took him 10 years to get where I am now. And then in the first round, Cowboy Cerrone used that black belt, got him in an armbar. And then Mike Perry tried to slam Donald Cerrone off his arm. And in doing that, he broke his own arm.
Oh, my God.
So, Donald, which you couldn't even tell that. We didn't even know until the next day. But because he tapped pretty fucking quick after that, you can imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine.
After all that shit, Donald Cerrone still won in the first round, broke that motherfucker's arm, and he's from Denver, Colorado. So you can imagine what the stadium was like.
The crowd went wild.
Yeah, and dude, I was rooting. I do not like. I mean, Mike Perry's all right, but dude, Cowboy Cerrone is another one of those OG UFC fighters that he's just a gangster. He's a bad man.
The armbar that he put Perry in was really masterful.
He's got multiple. It's his third-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, all-American wrestler.
As you said yourself, he's a bad man. No doubt about it.
He's a gangster. He's a bad motherfucker. And I really wanted him to win.
And he did.
And he did.
In the first round.
In the first round. And he didn't just win. He broke that dude's fucking arm.
And then he paraded his infant child.
Yeah, then he's had his baby, his wife come up. His baby had little earmuffs on. And he's just holding the baby up like fucking Rafiki.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I like Rafiki. I like babies being held up like Rafiki. That's good. Now, the question I have, though, is did he hug it out with Mike Perry afterwards?
Mike Perry wasn't doing this.
Since he couldn't.
Between them, apparently. So I followed Joe Rogan on Instagram.
Yeah.
And apparently there's controversy over whether Mike Perry actually broke his arm or not.
Oh, I see.
Well, he tapped.
He tapped. He did for sure tap. It did for sure get fucked up. But he posted an X-ray or an MRI or something of his arm and wrote on it Snapchat style. It said, "See, there's no actual fractures here, just torn ligaments or something." I don't know. But he was still talking shit on Cowboy.
Was he really?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So I guess they didn't hug it out. Hard to hug it out when your arm is dangling by your side anyway.
Yeah, because he was just holding it like it hurt. Because I'm certain.
Yeah, let me tell you, I've had torn ligaments, not in my arm. I've broken my elbow, but I've had torn ligaments in an ankle. And torn ligaments hurt like fucking hell.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I've had that too. And I've also had a broken arm too, though not in the same way it would have been broken if someone had armbarred.
Yeah, but still, it's painful. Very painful.
Yeah.
The other
fucking
fight
hurts.
that I thought was really good, besides the two main events or whatever, there was a strawweight bout, a women's strawweight bout between Macy Barber, who's also a Denver local, and
Macy Barber. So there was Macy Barber, strawweight female, based in Denver.
Hannah Cyphers.
Hannah Cyphers. Okay, I've heard that name. Was she on like a female version of The Ultimate Fighter?
Yes, something like that.
Yeah.
So Macy Barber destroyed Hannah Cyphers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Apparently, her fighting style is freestyle brawler, which I have come to understand means that you throw elbows, pretty much exclusively elbows.
Ooh.
Which, when you catch them with your face.
I just watched a clip the other day of Curtis Blades practically murdering Alistair Overeem with them fucking elbows.
Yeah.
He sliced his face open.
That's what happened to Hannah Cyphers.
Oh, so Hannah Cyphers had her face flayed by the elbows of, what's her name?
Macy Barber.
Macy Barber. Ooh.
And this Barber is 20
Yeah.
years old.
Oh, yeah. She's good. She's cute.
Yeah.
And she looked like she just got done going for a job. Like, me and Bubba came in after, right as the fight was finishing, because we smoked a cigarette. And I also have a funny story about that as well. Some guy beating his own ass outside. What? We didn't tell you about that?
No.
What was he?
Yeah. Well, anyway, we come in and she was looking cute. I was like, man. Then I saw the replay and I'm like, you just fucked that girl up.
Yeah.
You break a sweat.
Slaughter.
And she's 20 years old.
Well.
Yeah. But anyway.
Macy Barber.
Yeah, Macy Barber.
Actually, she sounds like she might be just your speed as a potential, mate.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's out of your league.
Yeah, it's way out of my league, dog. Like,
Sorry.
all right. I don't even. Yeah. Anyway, so me and Bubba were outside smoking a cigarette, and they got those things. Put those little towers with the cigarette in.
Yeah.
A guy we had our backs turned. What we thought happened was some dude got hit in the face. He was laying on the ground.
Yeah.
You just hear a crash, and then the guy's on the ground. And then everyone's like, oh, and he's like, it's okay. And he gets up and tries to put it in the tower thing again. And he falls down. But when I say this dude, forehead planted, he didn't face plant. Just right on his forehead. It busted him open from like the top of his forehead down to his eyebrow. Wide open. Blood pouring out and shit. And it was at this point we realized that he was way too drunk. And then the lady is like helping him, trying to get him to sit down. He's like, you don't want to sit down. Now he's starting to not cooperate, like kind of trying to get her agitated. So like me and Bubba just started walking over there, and then like 20 people just start converging on this guy. And then
terrifying.
He looks around and then he just sits down. We're like, all right. And then I backed up and got my phone out because I was like, something's gonna happen. And but then he started giggling. He was too giggly.
Got it. Started what?
I was gonna say, I hope you went to a first aid.
He was incredibly intoxicated. I was like, I don't know why you would get that drunk at a public place. Like, or really at all.
Well, sometimes it happens unintentionally. People start drinking. They lose a little rational control. Their inhibitions get going. They start pounding them down, especially if they're inexperienced.
You know when you're starting to get sauced. You know when it's time to set that drink down because one more is going to fuck you up.
Well, not everyone has.
You should know. As a responsible adult, you should know.
Well, clearly he's not a responsible adult.
No, he wasn't. He's going to wake up with some stitches.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's why whatever that Crown Royal has that Drink Some Water campaign.
Yeah. We should do that regardless.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, drink water. Drink water.
Drink water.
Yeah, it's good for you. Hydrating. Well, so anyway, so you watch some guy kick his own ass at a UFC fight. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
It happened to me once. I was wasted. I was, I think, 20 years old. This is shortly before I went to treatment. But anyway, I was with some buddies. We were going to Green Bay because that's what was exciting, to go to Green Bay, Wisconsin. That was exciting in 1986. And anyway, so we're drinking Bacardi 151 on the way to Green Bay, doing a little pre-gaming. By the time we got to Green Bay, I was so fucking drunk, I couldn't get out of the car properly. And somebody that we were with who did not get quite that drunk was basically saying, dude, you're fucking drunk, man. Sit down, you're drunk. Which naturally pissed me off, so I took a swing at him. Took a poke.
I'm not drunk.
Right. I was going to beat his ass. But I was so drunk that I missed. Obviously, I missed his face by about 3 feet. He didn't even have to move. And I fell on my own face in a parking garage. Okay, so I bloodied my own nose and I was wearing a white shirt. It was now covered in parking garage grease. I look great.
Classy.
Yeah, right?
Is that the end?
Well, believe it or not, I ended up going home with this gal. I don't know how that, until she got to look at me in the light. She got to look at me in the light. It's like, dude, you got to go.
It's like, whoa. Didn't realize you looked like that.
Exactly.
All right, goodbye.
Yeah. Hey, baby, what's happening?
What's wrong? Make you feel better.
Aren't you glad I haven't drunk in the last 32 years?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Apparently. We didn't know.
Yeah, it's a bad deal. All right, anyway, well, it sounds like you had a good time at that UFC fight.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, so real quick on college football, Alabama continues to win everything. So there you go.
And
Isn't
there
that
you
like
have
a
it.
universal constant or something?
Yeah. Well, Nick Saban's there for sure.
Yeah, Nick Saban, college football is a bore. I mean, who's going to play Alabama for the national championship? What's that?
I said you want to see a contest.
Yeah, exactly. Although Citadel gave Alabama all they wanted for a first half. They were tied at the end of the first half, amazingly. And then, of course, Alabama went on to win like 50-17 or something. But, college football is a bore. Pro football, on the other hand, the Rams, Chiefs, and the New Orleans Saints, my goodness, those are some good-looking teams, man.
Man, them Chiefs, their fucking quarterback, Mahomes.
Yeah. Yeah, which Denver could have taken.
Yeah, right. No.
Sad.
It's just what we need right now to complete the dynasty. A very good quarterback.
Hey, so I saw something interesting, by the way. which is that they're thinking of hiring Gary Kubiak as the offensive coordinator. Kubiak, now having had a few years off of football, he's remained a consultant for the Broncos, and he's thinking about going back into coaching, but he doesn't want to go back to head coaching because the last time it was too great of a strain on his health, but maybe he could just be an offensive coordinator, which seems kind of weird.
I would be very cool with that, but it's going to be just as much a strain to be an offensive coordinator than it would be to be a head coach, especially if he's been a head coach.
Yeah, well, I would say it would be just as much of a strain to be offensive coordinator when your quarterback is Case Keenum.
Yeah. Also, yes. That's another excellent point.
Going to put a lot of pressure on you mentally.
Yes,
mental pressure. All right, anyway, so that's football. And then baseball, thank God our long national nightmare is over. No one's playing that. Basketball, LeBron's still struggling with the Lakers. Sad.
The Regals. Yeah, he got into some kind of confrontation it was Kevin Durant and Draymond Green.
Yeah, the dynasty in Golden State, not all is happy in Golden State. But let's face it, man, you get these multi-million-dollar athletes. I mean, it's a small team.
And they're all balling so hard. They're all just winning these fucking championships and winning these games, dusting these other teams. They start to get full of themselves.
Yeah.
They're making, they got these multi-$100 million contracts and shit.
But yeah, to be honest with you, the NBA is getting boring. It's like, who's going to play the Golden State Warriors and lose to them in the championship?
Yeah. The Cavaliers versus the Warriors for the 47th consecutive championship.
Not anymore. Not with LeBron gone. It's going to be, Boston or Toronto or Philadelphia.
Shouldn't that be more exciting if you have a new team in there?
But not if it's constantly against the evil Golden State,
right,
who's going to win. It's the same thing as with Alabama in college football.
Exactly.
They're going to win.
Yeah.
Every time.
Right.
They're going to dust them, too. They're going to stomp them. Because everyone who's good wants to go to that winning team. So when they recruit them out of college, hey, you want to come play for Golden State? They're real good motherfuckers. Yeah. Oh, they do, yeah.
Well, so anyway, so much for basketball. I don't care about it. College basketball, who cares? Who gives a rip? I mean, ultimately, who cares about the regular season? It all comes down to the 64, 65, 66 teams that make it into the tournament and what happens in the tournament. So why would you possibly care about the regular season? I mean,
just because you like the sport. If you like it that much, you played in high school or some shit.
All right, fair enough. You didn't play high school basketball, did you?
No, I was wrestling.
You'd think I would know that.
Wrestling and basketball were in the same season.
Yeah,
you could do them both. There was kid Alan Slaney who did both, but then when you get serious about one, you have to drop the other.
Yeah, and he's since died, so this probably wasn't good for him.
No, he just chose basketball.
Oh, I see. And then later died.
No,
he's still alive.
I hope not.
Well, you don't know. You don't know if he's alive.
Know. Yeah, I think I would have heard about that.
You've heard enough about other people dying. You probably would have heard about him.
Hard to say. I don't know. I think you should check it out. Maybe you should Google it. Just see if he's alive. See if an obituary comes
get
up.
A hold of him if I really wanted to.
Yeah. Well,
it'd be kind of weird now. I haven't talked to him in years.
Hey, you came up on my podcast.
Look, Alan, my father feels like you're dead. He doesn't really have any evidence for that, but he's pretty sure that you passed on.
He has no idea who you are or how old you are or what kind of life you live. He just thinks you're dead because I mentioned you.
Is that true?
So I'm just calling to check in, make sure you're alive.
So don't answer if you're dead, and if you do,
I'm going to hang up and listen to your answer. Beep. Anyway. All right, so good. All right, we've covered all the bases. Hockey, who cares? Noah would, Noah, this is the thing. Noah always pretends to care about hockey, but I've talked to him about this. He doesn't. He just likes to pretend to be Canadian from time to time.
Puts up a token protest?
Yeah. Come on, dude. Anyway, that's another one. Hey, you're not going to figure out what's going on in hockey until like mid-April, and then it's another 6 weeks before they determine their champion. So, who cares? Wow. I'm glad we covered sports. I feel like I'm a kind of sports cynic today.
Well, we did okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Football and UFC.
We showed love to KC and New Orleans and the Rams.
Yeah, we did. I'll tell you what, though. I mean, it's difficult as a Broncos fan to watch these other teams having success.
Yeah, especially Kansas City.
Especially the Chiefs.
My roommate is a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and we have a strong rivalry about it.
Yeah, really, the high point of the professional football season thus far has been watching the Raiders implode with John Gruden.
Yeah, no shit. Big potential. And then, I don't know.
I'll tell you, once they traded Khalil Mack, I'm like, their season's going to suck. And it has. Mm-hmm. I was correct in that.
A third-round draft pick or some shit.
That's ridiculous. I mean, they may be good in 5 years.
Not worth it.
They paid John Gruden $100 million, $10 million a year to coach that team. $100 million. Wow. I would say right now they're not getting their money's worth.
No, they're not.
More to follow. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, kids, are we missing anything?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered it all.
Has anybody read anything?
Oh no, I don't read. I can't read. Everyone knows that.
I can't read.
I'd like to be able to read. I just don't have time. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I've been reading Ron Chernow's biography of Washington for about 8 months now. It's like 700 pages long, and I'm finally into George Washington's presidency, which is quite interesting. Talk about a different dude than our current commander-in-chief. But anyway.
Well, he was an actual commander.
That's true. Yeah. He was.
Like, fought in wars.
He did.
He war.
He did. He done, won the revolution and all. So good on him for that. But yeah, I mean, just getting through this book, I only read it on the toilet and then only when I forget my phone. So, it's taken some time to get through this book.
That's kind of how, so we have multiple PlayStations, but we only hook them up to one TV because we're lazy.
Right.
So when one of us wants to play the PlayStation, the other one has an opportunity to read, but usually it's just on their phone. So I thought about, the point of this is that Murphy was playing Fallout last night, and I thought about picking up one of the 76 books that are dotting my bookshelves, and I didn't.
Yeah, you know why? Because the phone's so much handier to hand.
Yeah.
But, I like reading a book on a phone, too.
I do, too.
So maybe I need to do more of that. But then again,
it's a Kindle app on your phone, bro.
I've got it. It's just that Amazon already controls so much of my life. You know what I'm saying? It's like, do I really want to give them another $2, $3, $5, $7 for a book?
Well, you know what you should do?
What's that?
Is you should look into see if your local library does ebooks. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, actually, the Air Force has an e-library app, but the selections typically are crappy. I mean, the only good ones you got to wait for weeks for. It's like they don't have enough licenses. And yeah.
Check your library. Omaha Public Library has a fantastic ebook selection.
That's a good idea. I should check here in the nation's. You would think here in the nation's capital that such a thing exists.
There would be a couple libraries somewhere that.
Yeah, maybe even the Library of Congress. I wonder if I can get a Library of Congress card.
I mean, you like those historical things. That sounds absolutely boring from my point of view, but you.
Well, I mean, you would think Library of Congress, they'd have a lot of books, like all of them.
Sure.
So. Yeah.
Hey, speaking of George Washington, I read this thing. You might have seen it on Reddit. Do you know who the original Cassius Clay was?
Yeah, the original Cassius Clay was the fighter from Louisville who beat Sonny Liston's ass.
You're thinking about Muhammad Ali?
Indeed.
No, he was named after a Kentucky abolitionist. This guy, Cassius Clay, he lived in fucking Kentucky during
slavery times.
Slavery times. Didn't want to sound ignorant by saying that. There you go. During slavery times, he gave an abolitionist speech in Kentucky, and then afterwards, when he was getting off stage, someone had hired an assassin named Sam Brown to shoot him, and he shot him in the chest. And so Cassius Clay's response was to pull out his Bowie knife, cut the dude's eyes out of his head, and throw him off a bridge.
Wow.
That's pretty metal.
And then 6 would-be assassins attacked him again outside another event, and he fucking fought them all off with his Bowie knife again until hell cried.
Wow.
Aren't we glad that automatic weapons weren't a thing back then?
I'm just saying, Muhammad Ali should have kept his name. That dude was badass.
Yeah, well, good point. Yeah, but, from a religious point of view, he needed to change it to an Islamic name.
Yeah.
Had to do it.
Different stands.
Don't bring facts and things into this.
Yeah, exactly. Cassius Clay.
The point is that he came from greatness, and he stayed with greatness.
Yes, a badass twice over.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, that's a good way to end it. Let's let's all raise our glass to Cassius Clay, both the originator and to that Cassius Clay who later became Muhammad Ali. Here's to you guys.
Here's to you, buddy.
All right. Good show, guys. A Shinn Show. A Shinn Show is brought to you by Ziff's, a fine dining establishment in Invercargill, New Zealand. It features the voices and opinions of the Shinn family and can be found on iTunes and wherever you listen to podcasts.